What's up, you guys? Welcome back to the channel. Welcome back to another video. Today we got a Cub Cadet XT2 model. It's the model with the push start ignition switch. The complaint from the customer is that the mower keeps killing the battery, so they got to be keeping it on a trickle charger in order for them to be able to use it every time they want to cut the grass. So automatically I know that there's a problem with the charging system, and in today's video I'm going to be showing you how to start checking the charging system and what the possible causes are for this thing not being able to charge the battery. So with that being said, if you like my channel, you enjoy my videos and you find them helpful, please consider subscribing, hitting the notification bell so you don't miss out on any of my latest uploads, and also giving me a like and dropping a comment down below. It's a way of showing support to my channel, and it really helps out with the YouTube algorithm. With that being said, let's get this thing fixed. Okay guys, so before we go ahead and do any testing to the system, you're gonna have to have a good battery. So if your battery is low on charge, that means hook it up, get it charged up, or if it's really bad, then go ahead and replace it, because otherwise you're not going to be able to perform the test properly. For the purpose of the video, I got mine hooked up to a jumper box. So I have 12.9 volts, so we have plenty of power. And you're also gonna need a multimeter so we can test the system. So first things first, it's pretty obvious, some systems have a separate fuse for the charging system. So what you're going to want to do is locate your fuses and find if you got a blown fuse. If you have a blown fuse, then most likely that's your problem. Just replace the fuse and retest the battery. And how to test the battery is, you get your multimeter, you set it onto DC current, the DC volts, and you hook up your leads, positive to positive, negative to negative, start the mower, run it at full throttle, and you should see anywhere between 14 to 15 volts is what you should be seeing running the mower at full throttle. If you don't see that, then your charging system is probably not charging enough. If you only see like 12.5 volts or whatever the reading was when you checked the battery before starting the mower, and you're only getting the same reading or your voltage is dropping, then the charging system is not working at all. So that means we're going to move on to the next step, which is checking the circuit for the volt regulator. So I already have the cover on this engine removed. So this is a Kohler V-twin. This engine is used on pretty much all the mowers out there, so it's not specifically to Cub Cadets. But like I said, I got the cover already removed, and this is where the volt regulator is located. So it's bolted through the bottom right here. There's two mounting bolts, and you have this plug going to it with the 3 wires. So I'm going to unplug it in a minute and show you. But basically on the Kohlers, your 2 outer prongs, or the 2 outer wires on the plug, is your wires that are coming from the alternator, which is under the flywheel. So these 2 wires are actually AC, and then they go into this rectifier or volt regulator, and it gets converted to DC, and it comes out right here in the middle. So usually that'll be the purple wire on these Kohlers, and that's the circuit for your charging system. So what you want to do is grab the multimeter and set it to DC volts. When you set it to DC volts, you take your positive lead and you touch the middle wire where it connects on your volt regulator. Then you take your negative lead and you touch it to the body of the volt regulator, and you should be getting about the same reading, voltage reading, as what you're getting at the battery if your circuit is working properly and you don't have a break in the circuit. Well, about a volt difference is fine, but anything lower than that, that means you definitely have a short. There's a voltage drop somewhere in the circuit, and you're gonna have to start testing the actual circuit down the line. And if you're not getting a reading at all, what you do is you take your positive, you connect it again to the middle, and you take your negative lead and connect it to the negative wire on your battery terminal. So by doing that, if you're still not getting a reading, that means you definitely have a open circuit on the positive side. And then to confirm it, you can swap them around and connect your negative lead. You take your negative lead and touch the body on the volt regulator, and you take your positive lead and you touch this to the positive terminal on the battery. And if you are getting a reading, that basically confirms that the volt regulator is fine, but there is a open, the circuit is open, so you need to trace the wiring and find if there's a break somewhere in the circuit. If you do get proper reading, but your charging system is still not functioning, or you're still not charging, the next step is to actually unplug it. So you pull the wiring, the wire with the the plug with the 3 wires. I turn the light back on, so you see the 2 white wires, one on each side. You take both your positive and negative leads and you stick one on this side and one on the other side. So you basically want them connected to the 2 white wires on the plug, just like that. Okay, so you hook them up, then you turn your voltmeter to AC, because the alternator is charging AC volts. So turn your multimeter to AC, have the leads hooked up, start the mower and run it at full throttle. You should see anywhere between 30 and 40 volts. If you're not getting that, then the problem is either your alternator is bad, or what I see a lot with these collars is the magnets inside, on the inside of the flywheel, have come loose, and that means they're not producing any power anymore because they're probably just stuck on the alternator. So the charging system is basically not functioning at all, and that means you're gonna have to replace the flywheel, and most likely the alternator is damaged as well. So this is pretty much how you check your charging system on your mower. So this is your guide, step by step, what you should check before you actually go ahead and do anything else and start swapping parts. Now I'm gonna jump into what was wrong with this specific mower. This is the one with the push start ignition switch, and this is a specific issue to these mowers that have the push start ignition switch. So I've checked the battery, checked for fuses. This particular system doesn't have a separate fuse, so check the alternator. Alternator is fine. Check the volt regulator, and that's fine. But we're not getting any power, so the circuit, the charging system circuit, is open. So what you do is you're gonna have to start tracing the line, and this is where this guy comes in handy. If you get, I'm gonna drop a link down in the description. So this is a test light with an actual voltmeter on it. So and it also beeps too to let you know, and it lights up if you get positive or negative. So with this guy, I'm gonna start checking the line. You can probe the line all the way down and find out where the break is in the circuit. So I've checked the line all the way down, and real quickly actually, what you're gonna notice is on your engine wiring harness, it might be one color that your circuit is, like this one is purple, but where it hooks up to the actual mower harness, it transitions to a different color wire. So if you're seeing a purple wire on hooked up to the volt regulator, and then you're looking for another purple wire here, chances are that's going to be something completely different. So pay attention, trace the wire all the way from one end to the other, so you know you're tracing the proper circuit. So in this case, we're transitioning from purple to gray, and not only that, it actually splits as soon as it hooks up to the mower wiring harness. It splits into two. So you want the one that keeps going all the way to the ignition switch. So that's your charging system circuit, because the charging system actually goes all the way back to the ignition switch on most mowers. And in this case, I've traced the wiring, and there was no break anywhere in the line until I got to the switch itself. So I checked the wire every few inches all the way until I got to the plug, and then I hook it up to the back of this plug, and I wasn't getting anything. I pushed a little harder on it, and then I finally got a voltage reading. So when I try to unplug this top plug, which this is your main wire, this is the main power wires coming from your main fuse. So these have continuous power. This one is only supposed to power when you turn ignition on. So when, like I said, when I try to take this plug off, this will not budge. I tried shoving a little flathead screwdriver and try to pry it out. It wouldn't budge at all. Like, it was about to break. So what must have happened with this thing is somehow the system or the wiring, it overheated and then melted onto the back of the circuit board, because this is all one unit. So now the customer is stuck having to replace the whole ignition switch, and these are not that cheap. They're like 150, 160 bucks if I'm not mistaken, what I saw on Amazon. I don't know if they have a cheaper version out there, but that's what I saw on Amazon. So yeah, so basically the ignition switch is at fault, and it's completely shot. It's burnt. So this is where the issue lies with this particular mower. And if you have the exact same machine with these push start ignition switches, this will be the first thing to try. And actually, I'm gonna show you. I have it hooked up right now. So just to show you real quickly, so on this particular model, like I said, you have to turn ignition on. These are your continuous power right here, the two wires. These are the wires coming from, well, this is the one wire that comes from the main fuse, and then from here they actually jumped it, and it powers the lower section of this harness for the other functions in the ignition switch. But to open the circuit for the charging system, which is this gray wire, you need to turn ignition on. So there it is. We have 13 volts, and we push, and there's nothing. So we're touching the plug right there, nothing. And if you push it all the way in, there you go. Now we get a reading. So this is the issue. And I'm actually going to show you on the other side as well. So I have my test light with the meter hooked up to the circuit for the charging system on the plug that goes to the volt regulator that I showed you earlier. And you can see ignition is on, and when I move the plug, see, if I push on it, we get power. So we just confirm that this panel is basically no good. It's shorted out inside, and unfortunately I'm gonna have to replace the whole thing. But customer don't really feels like spending that kind of money, plus it's a friend, so I gave him another option. So what I'm going to do for him is, on a lot of these machines, your charging system circuit is actually hooked up to your continuous power. So it's hooked up to either directly to the same wire, or it's hooked up to another fused circuit, and then hooked up to the continuous power as well. So what I'm going to do is cut the gray wire here at the plug, and then extend it, have a fuse in line, and then hook it up to one of these wires here to the continuous power. So I'll have an extra fuse for the charging system, but it'll have continuous power. So unfortunately, what that's going to do for this mower is, like I mentioned earlier, the plug here at the engine splits into two. So unfortunately, the charging system is also powering the headlights on this machine. So if I'm going to be running continuous power on that circuit, that means the headlights are going to stay on unless you keep the plug disconnected. And when you need the headlights, you're going to have to either manually connect it and turn the headlights on, or cut the wire, extend it, and install a separate switch for your headlights somewhere on the mower. But pretty much these are the options that I can give you. It's up to you. So full disclosure, I'm not suggesting you do this. This is what I'm going to do for my friend to help him save some money. So if you want to go ahead and do that on your own mower, that's up to you. But this is basically what I've seen. The issue with these Cub Cadets is these stupid ignition switch, push start ignition switches that are more complicated. And I was thinking about converting it to a regular ignition switch with a key, but unfortunately it's just going to be more time consuming because they have way too many wires over here. So I'm going to have to cut all the wires and then hook it up individually and replace the plug, because it's not a plug and play. So it's not going to work if I wanted to put a regular ignition switch on this mower. Unfortunately, that would be ideal, but it's not going to work. And like I said, it takes too much time, so it's not worth it. This will be the best thing. Just cut the wire, put a fuse in line, and then run it. And now I'm just going to skip to the part when I do all the fix the wires, put the fuse in line, show you how everything looks put together, and then we're going to start the mower and test the system and make sure everything is working properly and the charging system is functioning and it's charging the battery. So stick around. Real quickly, just wanted to show you the wire harness now that I modified it before I put it back in place. So basically we have the gray wire. It's cut right here. It's cut in half, and then it's all wrapped up, so it's not connected anymore. And then down here I actually cut the red continuous wire and soldered another extension that goes all the way through the factory sheeting, and then it goes to this factory looking fuse from another Cub Cadet that I had. And then over here I soldered it to the gray wire that goes to this plug, and everything is soldered and heat shrink wrapped, and then wrapped up in electrical tape. So it pretty much looks as factory as it gets. But I just wanted to show you how the harness looks and how I modified it before I go ahead and put it back in the mower. And then we're gonna run the machine and retest the system, make sure everything is charging properly. Okay, so here it is. Mower is put back together, the ignition switch and everything, and we're gonna do the test. We got the battery now back in place, so let me check. We have 12.5 volts. So let's check the circuit now down at the volt regulator. So again, we're touching the middle connector on the volt regulator, and we're touching the body of the volt regulator, and we have the exact same reading. So our circuit is now functioning. So let's go ahead, start the mower, and see what we get. We are charging, ladies and gentlemen. The charging system is fixed. it'll probably keep climbing until it gets like 14 something volts. So it's good to wait like a minute after you start the mower, let it run, and then check it. But yeah. So this is going to be it for the video, guys. I hope it found you helpful. I really hope it helps you fix your own mower and save some money in the process. If you did enjoy the video, don't forget to give me a like, drop a comment down below, and as always, stay safe, be blessed, come back for more videos. I'll see you soon.